Greetings from the Philippines to the world. We are on Facebook Live on Eagle News and Net25 TV and also on our streaming site eaglenewslive.com. Watch us on our YouTube channel at Net25 TV. I am Cesar Vallejos. Welcome to Open for Business. Join me discover the latest news and information in business around the world. Stay ahead of the curve from vision to action. Everyone's talking about income generation and expense management literacy from fiat money and digital money. Today, we will tackle wealth building and the opportunities for small businesses in investing in the digital space, including the promise of the Internet of Money. Open for Business will be back with the insights of the author of the award-winning and biggest Filipino bestsellers on personal finance and the pioneer and leading advocate of the personal financial literacy movement in the Philippines. Our guest extended his learning and financial services programs to the emerging digital economy, particularly with respect to the proper appreciation of virtual currencies, including Bitcoin and the blockchain technology. Mr. Francisco Colaico will join us when Open for Business returns. Stay with us.
Kuya, meron akong tanong. Ba't ba tayo umalis ng Orbita? Bakit ayaw mong bumalik tayo dito? Si Ate Reyna ba ang punot dulo?
Si tatay. Siya ang punot dulo ng lahat.
Okay ka lang ba? Parang matamlay ka yata.
Na-expose siya sa masamang elemento.
Ha? Baka COVID.
Nako, mas masahol pa sa COVID. Hoy, Ned, bantayan mo nga yung anak ko.
Miss Reyna, may donation na naman daw.
Actually, kaming dalawa, Doc.
Kayong dalawa talaga, perfect couple. Kailan ang kasal?
Ang daigdig ko'y ikaw. Tuwing Sabado, 8:00 ng gabi. Dito lamang sa Net25.
Open for Business is back, and with me is Mr. Francisco Colaico, entrepreneur, venture developer, and personal finance advocate, and the chairman and founder of the Colaico Foundation for Education. Good day to you, Mr. Colaico.
Good day, Cesar. Thank you for having me.
It's a very interesting topic that we have this afternoon, Mr. Colaico. Off-cam, we were talking about the digital space, and if businesses are not in this digital space, we will be left out. But before I ask you, Mr. Colaico, on the changes in this business environment, I just have to go back to what happened recently, specifically, during this pandemic. I also know that you are a very prolific author, and you've been writing about wealth building. But I am 100% sure that you have not written anything yet about the global pandemic, although I'm sure you have columns as well. So how has the pandemic changed the way we do business today, Mr. Colaico?
Well, first, I think we have to accept the reality na na-triple book tayo, we've been hit from all sides. There is no longer demand, there is no longer supply, and there is no longer credit. When there is no market, there is no supply, and there is no credit, we're back to zero, basically. But we still need to survive. We need to eat. We need to move. We have to earn. We have to spend. We have to save. And we have to save for the future somehow. Those obligations will not go away. In fact, we are existing in this world, and I think you'll agree with me, principally because in the end, we want to share what we have. And we cannot share something if we don't have it.
That's right.
So, number one obligation natin, whether you're single, married, or whatever, you need to think of yourself to accumulate some assets, some call it wealth, or for lack of a better term, we'll call it wealth in a good way, so that you can share it with your loved ones in the end. That's our end game. It's sharing. Because if we are not in that mindset, there's no point. No point trying to accumulate anything if it's just for ourselves. Then there will be no rules, no ethics. We just go for our own selfish motives. So we start with that premise that we're here to save, accumulate something, some assets that we can share with our community, with our loved ones, with our church, with whoever needs it. That's our main purpose in life. At least that's my belief. So
Mr. Colaco, yeah, you mentioned about, and you've written a lot of materials about wealth building, and it is very clear what you mentioned now, that this is the concept also that's tied up with sharing, accumulating and sharing with the families and the communities. Yeah. But my question now, Mr. Colaco, is before the pandemic, I'm sure there are new ways of creating wealth, of building wealth, but can you share with our audience now exactly what are the foundations of wealth building? Alisin mo po muna natin yung era ng pandemic. So maybe we can discuss about it. But in terms of the basics of wealth accumulation, or building your business, what to you are the basic foundations of wealth building?
The reality for all of us is we go through phases in the economic side of our existence. We need to earn, we need to save, we need to spend. But very few of us realize we need to save. And that to be able to be successful, we need to plan. The question of why is almost always forgotten. People move just thinking of the what. Most people forget about why. So they keep on doing the same thing, the same way, and not succeeding, and they keep on doing it, forgetting why they are doing it. But once we realize why we're doing it, then the solutions or options to arrive at the why, at the end, or the what, becomes multifaceted. You're not limited to one. So we start with that principle. So when we plan, we have to ask ourselves, what is it that we want, and why do we want it? Now, in wealth building, there are only two options. We want to earn incomes that we can spend for our livelihood, and we need to build capital over our lifetime, because that is what we will share with our loved ones. Now, 99% of us here in this region do not inherit much. We have to do it ourselves. So if you are in that situation, you're earning, but you don't have any inheritance, no real startup capital, you can only accumulate capital two ways. You save, or you borrow. Borrowing is not a bad word. It's how to use that money you borrow. That is where the problems start. Borrowing for something you don't need is disastrous. Borrowing for something you put at risk without any real study is also even more dangerous. So what I'm saying is, utang is good if you do it right, because all of us, I am talking for myself, for example, I never had any capital. So I started with not much except my education and the principles my parents taught me, my mother taught me. And that is the basis of growing one's, call it wealth, call it assets or whatever. But the objective is very clear. There are only two ways. You earn it, you save it. And once you save it, you grow it. Okay.
Now, Mr. Colaiko, I am especially interested on what you mentioned as your why. So you mentioned that there has to be that kind of, you have to ask that question, why.
Correct.
How is this related to creating your vision? A lot of course, a lot of the small businesses now and even the large businesses had to, especially during the pandemic and during the lockdowns, they had to also, it was a time to reflect, to revisit their whys, to revisit their vision. And a lot of them also pivoted, changed their business models to, they still maintain that kind of vision, but they had to change their strategies in order to attain it. Gaano po ka-importante, anong kahalagahan nung why na yon at
Why?
saka yung pag if you know, some people may call it vision, is this the time also to revisit your purpose and revisit that vision if it is still workable, you know, during the with all the changes that's happening now?
Well, I agree to a certain extent. We need to really have do real soul searching, if you want to call it that way, and assess yourself. Where am I today? From a standard of living point of view, from a financial point of view, from education point of view, from a community point. Where am I today? Am I in a survival mode or am I in a refinement mode? I'll give you one clear example of why the question of why we are doing things become very, very significant. The business stopped. My sales is down 50%. I have to let go of employees. But I built up as an asset base over the years. It's not liquid. It's not cash. But maybe I have an office building or an office space or an extra physical asset that I'm not able to use. If my objective is survival, cash flow, then that asset I built will now serve a different purpose. It will no longer be for the purpose of building a strong financial base, but rather to give me liquidity so that I can survive the next 3 to 5 years. If that is clear to you, then your strategy is for cash flow, not wealth growth, not growth of value. The assumption being that when you're back to normal, you can get it back again. But you won't be able to do that if you don't survive. So that's one example. Are you in this for income or are you in this for capital growth? Two very different objectives, but using the same asset or resources. For example, if I'm in trading, do I trade for the short term, get small income but more often? Or do I hold on to an asset, build up the value because I don't need it now? I will use it 5-10 years from now. But maybe you won't reach there if you don't liquefy it because of the problems today. So that is where the clear acceptance of a change in purpose becomes very significant in your plan of action. For example, I have I've been talking with a few people who consult, and I said, look, you don't really have a problem. You have a mindset problem because you don't want to let go of an asset which you don't need and you don't use today. What is the trade-off? Ang iniisip lahat, anyway, I have to borrow, I have to borrow. But there is a cost to borrowing. When there is no sure source of repayment, get rid of an asset you don't use. Get rid of the emotional attachment. Because if you solve your problem, you can always buy back something better. But if you're so attached to it, that brings you down. So what I'm saying, Cesar, is it's really a mindset problem. And if you correct that mindset, this problem of the pandemic is reduced 50%. Easily.
Okay. Yeah. Just a follow-up question, Mr. Colaiko. Hindi ba sasabihin nung ibang viewers natin, especially the small businesses, that this is only good for people who have accumulated assets or wealth already? Like, for example, you mentioned about this particular mode on survival. A lot of the small businesses, and as you mentioned also, one of the issues would be, cash flow, and during this pandemic, cash is really king. But for businesses who don't really have that much asset, that they have accumulated for some time, is this, what's in it for them? What are their strategies for, because you mentioned, two options only. One is their purpose to earn income or to build capital. So is this applicable also to businesses who haven't really built, something in their business operations?
The other side of the coin of earning income is reducing expenses. Any expense you reduce is income earned. 1 peso saved is 1 peso earned. In all my years of meeting with families and small businesses, when I ask them to track their expenses, almost always they discover after 2 months of tracking expenses, they almost always discover that they've been overspending 20-30%. Spending for things they did not need. For example, you go into a supermarket when you are hungry, you will spend twice more. Yeah, sure. Walang debate dyan. You will end up spending more because gutom ka pumasok ka sa supermarket. So, the same way you go to a mall, and dami dyan, mall visitation regularly, but because of this attraction, 90% off, 30%, you end up buying something. So that's one way. I'm not saying that the solution for everyone. But I also discovered in the many years of talking with people with their family issues, they almost always have something in their homes that they don't need or something that in their homes that they don't use. And I always say, and it's applicable to me too, way back 10 years ago, my wife and I decided, let's get rid of things we don't need that we don't use. Memberships here, whatever. And that has been a very good solution for us. It relieves us of, other things. And it makes you feel good. And it also makes your life easier, more comfortable. Then you're not bogged down by self-induced, shall we say, pagtitipid because you don't want to lose something. But if what you will lose doesn't mean anything anyway, get rid of it. It's easier said than done. Huh? It's easier said than done. Because attachment sometimes is something you cannot figure out. You can see this happening all around. people who you think don't have anything, but by God, they have something there hidden that they don't want to let go. So anyway, that's one thing. Now, your question is, for some businesses who have not been able to build assets, the only solution is to reduce expenses and accelerate cash flow of related businesses or services they can offer out of their existing services or products they offer. There's always that pass. In fact, you just look around your own neighborhood, you'll find out that there is something na kinaiinisan because it's not there. One simple thing is you need to alter your pants or your shirt, and you go to the mall, they charge you 200, 300 pesos. I tell them, how many residents in your small subdivision? Sir, mga 200. Why don't you walk around and pick up those shirts you can alter and give it to them at half the price? For the convenience, these people will give you business. Shoe shine is another example I always say. I end up shining my shoes because wala na akong gumagawa. And I go to the mall, I get charged 180 pesos. My God, for shoe shining.
That's right.
So, go around your neighborhood, your communities, shine for 30 pesos. You have easily 1,000 pairs there a month that you can shine. That's 30,000 off the bat. So what I'm saying is, you don't have to look for something of a rocket science type. Just look at the convenience that you will provide people around you. That's why you have cooked meals now.
Yes.
Proliferating because of the convenience.
That's right.
And there are many more, I'm sure. Tutoring is now all over the place. Deliveries, everything. Look, that's why Grab and all this Lala Move.
Yeah.
They're all over the place. And the riders are self-employed. So what they just need is to borrow money to get a motorcycle or something. So these are the changes because of the fact that software has taken over our lives. Everything is now software. You don't need a television station. I can produce this show on my laptop, right?
That's right. Correct. Everyone, everyone's content producer now.
Yeah, the two of us, we can come up with an idea and come up with our own show. And put it on YouTube, put it on Signal, put it on Telegram, and people will watch. So now we have our own TV company. That's why the big, high overhead businesses are rethinking also their business models.
Which is exactly my next question, Mr. Colaiko. Because earlier during the discussion, you mentioned about this mindset. So is mind setting or creating a new mindset changing as well, especially during the pandemic, with all the new pain points, with all the behavioral changes, that's happening? How would entrepreneurs or startups also rethink what or how mind setting should be done?
Right.
Di ba, before, Mr. Colaiko, talagang may mga inciting pa dyan, even the large companies really, they commission research organizations to do it for them. But in your case, what you're telling me now are very, very practical, tactical strategies to have that mindset and still create that value and build wealth. So, paano po ba ngayon yung the strategies of having this entrepreneurial mindset that is abreast with the times? Kasi nagbabago na nga po, sinabi nyo kanina. So how do you create this ways? What are your insights in terms of having this mindset that's really abreast with the times?
Well, if you go back to the basic principles of personal finance, you have to earn, save, plan, invest, and spend. Right? you have to still to do the same things, but now in a different platform. In a different platform. Because now, from here, I'm able to get a client in Czechoslovakia, for example, or Italy, by just giving him my own proposal and we interact. My own daughter is doing that with her design ideas. She puts it out on the web, and people of the same mindset, the same community, they test each other, they form their own community, and they give business to each other. And she's been very successful, far more from her expectation. She would not be able to earn that kind of money working for somebody here, even getting paid a high salary. But now, because you open up the market to every single individual in the world, you are now able to do something better. But you have to go out of your way, get out of your comfort zone, and learn new things. And not be afraid to fail. There will be failures. Some will reject you. Like selling, any salesman. Sabi nga nila, a salesman is somebody who is really jaded. Eh. Ano na yan? Every day they will reject yan. They eat that for breakfast every day. Diba? So, but that's something that we should not be afraid of. Failure. In fact, you cannot succeed without failing. So I really believe that. If you don't try, you'll never know. So what I'm saying is, the digital world has changed everything. I'll give you one, of course, it's a big example. It's just to tell you, to convince people, even the most educated ones, the high-polluting economies who still don't accept it, but now they're beginning to accept it. The biggest company, the highest valued company today per share is Tesla. Okay? A car, an electric car. But is it really a car? You know why it's valued so much? Because it's not a car.
It is what?
It's a computer that operates like a car. Tesla has no dealers. Wala siya nung mag-maintain. They change the software online. You wake up the next morning, iba na yung software sa kotse mo. They've done it overnight. Okay? So, they have reduced the expense of production and administration by 60-70%.
And they sell it higher.
Yes. Why? Because of another value, which is they have come up with a new energy storage system, which is not only applicable to transportation, it's also applicable to many other things. That's why it's in space. That's why it's because he's been able to do that. And that's the value people are putting into that company. And worse, and not worse, more, because of the network effect. It's not limited to one industry like a car. It's not limited to selling and maintaining cars. It's now selling energy. It's now selling many other things. That network effect is multiplying its value. That is true with Lala Move. That is true with Grab, because they're not only delivering food, they're delivering items, they're providing you convenience for the exact order you want to eat for breakfast. They're also doing messenger service. So that is a network effect. Never before possible.
Yes.
But software has made it possible.
That's right.
And that is what I'm saying.
With that, Mr. Colaco, we'll talk about the changes in business and more exciting things that's happening in business in the digital world. The chairman and founder of the Colaco Foundation for Education, Mr. Francisco Colaco, will be back. Stay with us. Open for Business will return.
Congratulations, Marcelito Pomoy, for being the 7th on Google's most searched male personalities of 2020. Your Net25 family is proud of you.
po si Nonoy Zuniga. Abangan niyo po ako ngayong linggo dito po sa Himig ng Lahi. Alas 8 ng gabi, dito lang sa Net 25.
Though my life's without love, you are my love for all time. Though we've run out of moments to save our love in time.
Open for Business is back, and still with me is Mr. Francisco Colaico, entrepreneur, venture developer, and personal finance advocate, the chairman and founder of the Colaico Foundation for Education. Mr. Colaico, we had a very interesting introduction, and our last key point was these changes in the digital world, which is exactly what has prepared businesses or individuals who have used technology even before the pandemic. You mentioned a lot of brands earlier during the discussion that has really profited, because they're technology driven, and they use technology to further enable their businesses. So how will small businesses identify opportunities in getting a pie of their profits or income or wealth from this thing that we call the Internet of Money?
I think when we talk of small business or business, we need to think of it in basically 3 dimensions. Right? The first dimension being, are you producing something? Are you producing a product or a service? That's one of the ways we earn. We make things. Okay? The second way we earn is we trade things. We buy and sell. And the third is we own an asset that grows in value or that generates income without us doing anything. That is what we call a passive income asset, like an apartment house that gives you rental income every month without you doing anything. But not everybody can do that. Although in the last 2 decades of helping the small guy, I'm very happy to see that a lot of the OFWs, some of them followed what I suggested and say, don't go for jackpots, go for sustainable income assets. So they were able to, with their savings, build 2-3 door apartments in the provinces, and now they're earning 20, 30, 40,000 a month, which is sufficient for their standard of living in the province. So to me, that's the third dimension. You own. So they continue to work. So they're earning. Maybe they're earning in a cruise ship or they're earning in Dubai doing something. So tuloy-tuloy ang income, pero may asset na napundar. That ownership aspect is something that now is starting to be the solution for the small guy to become rich. Okay? I'm talking about digital currency. Fiat money, as we know it, pesos, dollars, they're all creation of government, di ba? And we have to accept that money is, anything that is accepted as money is money. Even a piece of stone can be money if I accept it as payment for something. That's the way the old, the pre-discovery men, human beings, did trade. They traded with seashells, they traded with stone. But of course, there's a limitation. You cannot go outside your small community. That's why government invented coins and then invented paper money, and now it's plastic money. But I need to remind people that since 1971, money, especially the dollar, is no longer backed up by gold. Some people still think that money is still backed up by gold. It is not. From 1971, when the US got off the gold standard, you can no longer replace the dollar with gold. Why? Because they overprinted dollars before 1971. They financed the Vietnam War, they financed the trip to the moon, they financed so many activities that allowed them to print so much dollars without the backing of gold. So when England and France decided to return the dollars to the US and say, give us our gold, they couldn't. They didn't have the gold. So what did the government do? No more gold. It's just the US dollar standard. But they were the strongest economy, militarily, economically, politically. So the world accepted it.
So this is already a global standard, Mr. Colaiko, that it is not backed up by gold. All governments.
There is no currency. There is no currency that is backed up by gold.
Okay.
The currencies today is backed up by the dollar. Mostly. 80% of trade is dollars. And the dollar and the American, alam mo mga Amerikano, ano yan eh. Matulis din yan, marunong eh. So, anong ginawa nila sa Middle East para to assure that the dollar would be strong? They convinced Saudi Arabia, okay, we will protect you, but all the oil must be paid in dollars only. So that's why the dollar became very strong. But in the last decade, with this pandemic, the US government printed 40% more dollars in this short period. In this year alone. Kaya everybody is saying, babagsak ang value. Not only the dollar, euros, yuan, lahat ng currency. So the world is now saying, paano na yung store of value natin? Yung gold, you cannot use it. I cannot transport gold from one place to another. It's not portable. So what is portable? Cryptocurrency. Which cryptocurrency? Bitcoin, for example. I am a firm believer of that. So some people will disagree with me, but I'm a firm believer of that. Now, the whole world, financial world, is agreeing to that. So what is the opportunity for the small guy? The small guy before could not buy gold. Because gold is the best hedge. You have gold, it will not reduce in value. But how many people can afford to buy gold? Cannot. You cannot. In the Philippines, you can only sell gold to the central bank or to a jeweler. And you go to a jeweler, ibang value nun. So even if you have gold, it's not readily exchangeable. But cryptocurrency is, Bitcoin is. So what is happening? As early as 2015, when I got sold to this idea after studying it for several months and years, I decided personally to put my savings in Bitcoin. Some of it, not all of it. At that time, it was $300. You know how much it is as we speak now?
How much?
$37,000.
$37,000. From what figure again when you started?
300.
Wow. Wow.
That's only in 4 years. So you can imagine, some of our members in our investment cooperative, among OFWs, they started following my advice, just buying small amount, 10,000 pesos worth, 20,000 pesos worth, because you don't have to buy one Bitcoin. You can buy portions of it. The average was buying 20,000 pesos worth of Bitcoin. They have 200,000 now, 400,000 now. So what I'm saying is, that's the owning side. Remember, I keep saying there are three ways. You make it, you trade it, you own it. At this time, the ownership side far beats everything else. Because you don't have, and this has not stopped, it's just beginning. Because in the cryptocurrency world, in the Bitcoin world today, it is only now that the big companies, institutional money, family money, banks are buying Bitcoins. So they're expecting Bitcoins to go up from 37,000 to 220,000 in the next 1 or 2 years. Can even be 500,000. Why? Because so much money has been printed and is still being printed. After the inauguration of Biden, U.S. government will print another $3 trillion, increasing the supply another 30%, without a corresponding production. So the money we're holding today will lose in value. Everything will go down in value. So the cryptocurrency is an opportunity. It will not solve all your problems, yes, but it's an opportunity of a lifetime because the world is changing, moving from fiat currency to digital currency.
Now, sorry to interrupt, Mr. Colaco, but some of the quarters would also maintain that there are security issues with cryptocurrencies. And earlier, when it was introduced, there were issues. There were scam issues. There were misinformation, circulating about cryptocurrency, and this may have affected acceptance of some quarters going into cryptocurrency. And also, that's the reason why Eagle Broadcasting Corporation also conducted this conference on explaining cryptocurrencies and how the early adopters has really, like you, has really benefited from it. In your case, and what's your take on cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin being used in the mainstream right now? Is it as easy as exchanging your fiat money to digital currency and vice versa? What's your outlook on that, sir?
My take is very, very basic. I agree, and I believe in it 1,000%. The security issue was misperceived. The blockchain, which is the Bitcoin blockchain, has never been hacked. What has been hacked were the exchanges that were keeping the wallets of their members, their subscribers. I have never kept my wallet with the exchange. I keep my own wallet in a hard, what they call a cold wallet. That's not hackable. I keep it off. I keep it off the grid. Okay. Now, Bitcoin has never been hacked, and it's the most secure. A lot of the scams were promoting coins that pretended to be like Bitcoin, when in fact they were not. A lot of networking companies here, in fact, one even used my name. I was so mad, I wanted to sue them. They used my picture as if I was endorsing their, I don't know what kind of network they were selling. And they said, "Oh, Mr. Colaco believes in us." I said, "No, somebody used my picture and my quote, but they stopped. Those were scams because what they claimed to be blockchain was not really a blockchain. They pretended to have their own blockchain, but that's really a scam. It's an outright scam. And that's why I advise people, learn it before you get it. It's not rocket science. It's so easy to learn. If you know how to use email, you can do it, but you have to understand it. Now, there is one trade-off in cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin. The trade-off is, as you said, security. In the digital world, in Bitcoin, for example, when you engage in it and put it in your wallet, that wallet is your own bank. You are now your own bank with your own security codes. If you lose that code, I'm not going to the detail, but the principle is, if you lose that code or somebody steals that from you, you're dead because you will lose that and you have no other place to go. Or if you lose your wallet and forget the code, that money is lost forever. Unlike now with the bank, if you lose your passcode, what you call passbook. You go to the bank, I lost it. I give you an affidavit, and after 1 month, they give you a new one, right?
Yeah. No, but at least, Mr.
Currency, you
Colaco,
are your own bank.
yeah, but with the trade-off, at least you trust someone who knows your passcode. Is that safe as well?
You can. There are ways to protect yourself with that. You can have a separate your codes put in a safety deposit box in the bank, so you don't never forget it, etc., etc. All I'm saying is you have to be prepared to be responsible and accountable for your own money. Hindi yung bahala ka na.
Yeah, but Mr. Colaco, as you mentioned, and we agree, based on research and studies say that that is, the uniqueness of blockchain, that it can never be hacked and it's totally secure. What struck me was, when you said that it's the exchanges, that has the wallets, where lies the problem. I think I heard an executive of the Securities and Exchange Commission that eventually there are many sub-SECs or exchanges that will be developed from out of this blockchain and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. But you are saying that there is a way not necessarily to go through that exchange, but maintain your hard cold wallet. Pero gaano po kadali ito sa mga maliliit na negosyante, sa mga nanonood na mga entrepreneurs ngayon? How easy is it to engage in digital currency? Ito ba ay kailangan mag-take ka ng course, ng crash course, or as you mentioned, may email ka lang, madali na lang ito? How easy is it to engage in digital?
I run webinars, and in 30 minutes you will know how to do it. Your question that, yes, you can buy your Bitcoin from an exchange, but you don't have to make them keep your wallet. Okay? The wallet in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency is not a physical wallet. It's an address, a 37-character address that is generated by the algorithm of the blockchain. Okay? Now, once the exchange gives you a number, that's your address, you can keep that number and put it in your own physical hard wallet, and it's no longer kept by them. Okay? So that's the beauty. But if it's a small amount, you can let them keep it. They're not going to run away with it. But a lot of the victims of these exchangers were victims by insiders. There were a few, fraudulent employees or dishonest employees that stole accounts of their subscribers. Similar here in the stock brokerage industry, there have been cases where the investors did not know the stockbroker was selling his stocks. It happens. But what I'm saying is there is enough security. But what is more important is that risk, I think, is well worth taking, provided you understand and learn how to handle it, because of the upside that is very, very much possible if you're able to keep some of your assets in Bitcoin, for example, as opposed to pesos. Because that value will not decrease. It will only increase. Pesos will decrease because as the dollar decreases, the peso's purchasing power decreases. You cannot buy more up from abroad if the dollar is decreasing. It will cost you more. Maybe domestic-wise, economy-wise, not as much because we're producing our own rice, we're producing our own food. The inflation there is not much. But when you start buying assets, it's a different story. Hard assets. Then the peso, like many other fiat currencies, will be debased because of the dollar debasement. But that's the future. That it's just a reality we must accept. And the way to mitigate against that is to keep some of your assets in crypto or in Bitcoin.
How easy is it, Mr. Kulaiko, to shift from cryptocurrency to fiat money? Because
Very easy.
some of the viewers now would think, okay, we'll do that, but eventually, that specific time, comes, or a need comes, and you needed to really shift to fiat money. So how easy is it to shift from one
It's like
currency to another?
it's like going to a money exchange, shifting your dollars to pesos, because we have licensed, legitimate virtual currency exchanges, licensed by the BSP. I buy my Bitcoin for my children from them, and I sold back some Bitcoin to them because my children needed pesos. It's legitimate. Of course, I'm not talking of hundreds of millions. I'm talking of a few thousand pesos that you need to buy things, or it's no problem. Even if you're talking of hundreds of thousands or even a few million pesos, it's always available. But when you talk of hundreds of millions of pesos, that may take a while, but it's available. It's legal. It's legal.
But what is interesting also, Mr. Kulaiko, is that Filipinos are very digitally ready. As a matter of fact, di ba dati, the Filipinos who are into online banking, into online transactions, kaunti lang yan. But, what is your outlook on Filipinos going into digital currencies, specifically Bitcoin, and in the investments of businesses? You are a seasoned entrepreneur, Mr. Kulaiko, and di ba, sabi nga nila, I always hear this from seasoned entrepreneurs like you, where you don't put your money in one basket, but you have to really put it in a lot of things. So what is your outlook for of Filipinos and the Philippines adopting this kind of cryptocurrency? And do you think that small businesses have this huge opportunity also, so that they can build their assets in this specific setup?
Okay. Like, I have a small business also that I help run. The co-op has many businesses that I advise on. This is the logic. First, I will give you the logic. The multiplier effect of Bitcoin is very high. We're talking of, from now, the next 5 years, 20x. The potential is 20 times growth in the next 3 to 5 years. Now, there is no asset like that right now that is being. Now, is it high risk? Yes and no. At this time, because of the adoption from 2009 to 2020 was mostly retail. Since 2019, it has gone wholesale, institutional. What is driving the price up today is institutional money. Statistics are there are over $300 trillion of investable money looking for a safe haven. The market capitalization of Bitcoin is less than 1 trillion. Gold is 11 trillion. They're expecting Bitcoin to approximate gold in the next 3 to 5 years. It will go up to 5, 6, 7 trillion. At that level, Bitcoin will be at $700 to $1 million per Bitcoin. So if you start now at 30,000, grabe yung upside. Mm-hmm. It's worth the risk. But will you put all your money? Of course not.
Okay.
But will you put 1%, 10%? That depends on the size of your asset base. For a small business running, let's say, 1 million pesos a year, 3 million pesos a year, siguro, you can have 500,000 pesos invested there or 300,000, up to 10% max. But sana may 2 to 5% man lang. Because even if your 95% does not grow, but this one hits it, covered niya lahat eh. And yet you're only taking a small risk. And it's an intelligent risk. It's not suntok sa buwan. It's based on data. It's based on movement of economics now happening.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Mr. Colaco, I'm sorry, but we're running out of time. This is really a very interesting discussion. My last question is this. I just have to relate it to what's happening in the world right now with the global pandemic. Why would businesses or why would individuals pursue and take a look to this digital money and invest or create or own these assets in the digital world?
Well, from practical, assuming you have a business idea, I cannot create the business ideas for you. But assuming you find a business idea, or you want to continue your business idea, and you want to engage in this digital platform, what it does for you immediately, it saves you time and money, because you can do it without leaving wherever you are. You can hire people without providing office space for them. And you can create systems online by buying apps. You don't have to create an app yourself. You can actually buy an app now. That's good for you. So that is the opportunity of small businessmen, the ability to touch base with your customer one-on-one, not going through all kinds of layers. Now, how you do it, kahit na tubero eh. I can offer my app eh. O, kailangan nyo ako, pupunta ako ganitong oras. Or you can subscribe to me, give me 5,000 pesos, and anytime during the year, I will go. All by app. Pwede na siya. So any service business is perfect for the digital platform. Something that was never possible before.
Thank you so much, Mr. Colaco, for your insights. It's really a very interesting discussion. I hope that we can guest you again so we can discuss more issues about cryptocurrency and the Internet of Money. That's Mr. Francisco Colaco, entrepreneur, venture developer, and personal finance advocate, and the chairman and founder of the Colaco Foundation for Education Incorporated. Open for Business. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Thank you for watching Open for Business. Join us again in the next episodes of Open for Business for more insights from CEOs, thought leaders, industry experts, and SMEs promoting business development in the Philippines. See you again every Saturday and Sunday here in Open for Business, where we discuss business information, deliver the latest business news to keep you informed and open for business and be ahead of the curve from vision to action. You're on Facebook Live on Eagle News and at Net25 TV, and you can watch us again in the video section of the Eagle News and the Net25 Facebook pages and on eaglenewslive.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Net25 TV. Thank you again for watching. For Open for Business, this is Cesar Vallejos. We live in interesting times.